In 1974, a woman pulled a box of 20 Mule Team borax off the grocery shelf for 39 cents and knew 20 things about getting her family's laundry clean that nobody ever printed on the side of that box. You are going to hear about water chemistry more than once before this countdown ends, and when you do, you will understand why your grandmother kept her whites bone white for 20 years without ever spending more than she needed to. The modern laundry industry has spent 50 years teaching women that the answer to dull, gray, stiff laundry is more product, a different pod, a stronger pour. It never was. Let us count down the 20 forgotten laundry secrets the detergent industry hopes you never rediscover. Number 20, the 3-bin sorting system. Before a single garment went into the machine, your grandmother sorted. Not into vague piles of light and dark, but into 3 deliberate categories: whites, colors, and delicates. Each pile got a different wash. The whites took hot water and a strong agitation cycle. The colors took warm or cold water to protect the dye. The delicates took the gentlest cycle the machine offered, or the wash basin by hand. The sorting was not fussiness. It was the recognition that a cotton work shirt and a nylon slip are different materials with different needs, and washing them together compromises both. Today, the marketing tells you to toss everything in together on a universal cycle with a universal pod. Your grandmother knew that universal is just another word for compromised. If sorting decided what went in together, the next habit decided how much. Number 19, loading the machine to the right level. Your grandmother never crammed the drum full. The homemaking manuals of the decade were specific. Fill the machine to no more than 3/4 of its capacity. The reason is mechanical. A washing machine does not clean with detergent alone. It cleans with the tumbling action that drives water and detergent through the weave and flushes the loosened soil away. When the drum is packed full, the clothes cannot move. They compress into a wet mass. The water cannot circulate, and the soil that lifts off one garment simply redeposits onto another. A 3/4 load tumbles freely, and every garment gets the full mechanical action. Today, people overstuff the drum to save time, then wonder why the clothes come out still dingy. Number 18, cold water for protein stains, hot for everything else. This is the single distinction that separated a woman who removed stains from a woman who set them permanently. Blood, egg, sweat, milk, and other protein-based stains coagulate and bond to the fiber in hot water, exactly the way an egg white turns solid in a hot pan. Once that protein has set, the stain is in the fabric for good. Your grandmother knew that the moment a protein stain happened, it went into cold water, never hot. Grease, mud, and most other soils came out better in hot water. She treated the distinction as a hard rule because she understood that the wrong temperature did not just fail to clean, it locked the stain in. Let us pause here for a moment, because everything we have covered so far rests on one principle, and it is worth naming directly. Your grandmother began every load by identifying what she was working with before she added anything to it. Fabric type, soil level, stain chemistry, water temperature matched to all 3. The reason this mattered comes down to chemistry. Most fabric stains fall into 2 families: protein stains like blood and sweat and egg, which set in heat and release in cold, and other soils like grease and dirt, which release in heat. Choose the wrong temperature and you work against the chemistry instead of with it. Then there is the water itself. Hard water, which most American homes have, is loaded with dissolved calcium and magnesium. Those minerals bond to detergent before it can reach the soil, which is why hard water leaves a gray film and weak lather. A universal product cannot solve for any of this because it does not know what is in your machine or what comes out of your tap. Your grandmother did know. That knowledge was the entire system, and every item on this list is one expression of it. Number 17. The pre-soak for heavily soiled items. The filthiest items. Work clothes caked in grime. Children's play clothes, sports uniforms, never went straight into a normal cycle. Your grandmother filled the machine or a large basin with warm water, dissolved half a cup of washing soda or borax, and let those items soak for at least 30 minutes before the wash even began. The soak did the heavy lifting. It loosened and suspended the ground-in dirt so that the wash cycle was removing already loosened soil rather than fighting to break it free. By the time the agitator started, half the work was done. Today, the equivalent is a pre-treatment spray sold by the bottle at a premium. Your grandmother used half a cup of a mineral powder that cost a few cents and worked on the entire load at once. Number 16. Fels Naphtha Bar Soap for direct stain pre-treatment. On the shelf above the machine sat a bar of Fels Naphtha, a heavy-duty laundry soap that has been manufactured since 1893. For a greasy collar, a food stain, a smear of makeup, your grandmother would wet the spot, rub the bar directly onto it, work it in with her thumbnail or a small brush, and let it sit for 10 minutes before washing. The soap was formulated to break down oily and greasy soils specifically, the kind that water alone slides right past. The bar was cheap and lasted for months. Today, that job is split across half a dozen specialized stain sticks and sprays. The bar still exists, still costs about $2, and still does what the whole shelf of sprays claims to do. Number 15. 20 Mule Team Borax as a water softener and wash booster. Borax has been sold in the United States since 1891, and by the 70s, the distinctive box was in laundry rooms across the country. Your grandmother added half a cup to the wash water before the clothes went in. Borax softens hard water by binding up the calcium and magnesium minerals that otherwise sabotage the detergent. With those minerals neutralized, the detergent could actually lather and bond to the soil instead of to the water. The result was cleaner, brighter laundry from the same amount of detergent. The mechanism is pure chemistry, and it has not changed since your grandmother used it. The box on the shelf today is the same box. Number 14. Arm and Hammer washing soda for grease and ground-in dirt. This is not baking soda, and the difference matters. Washing soda is sodium carbonate, and Church and Dwight introduced it under the Arm & Hammer name in 1874. It carries a pH of around 11, which makes it powerfully alkaline, nearly as strong as bleach in its ability to cut grease and lift ground-in dirt. Your grandmother added half a cup to the wash cycle for heavily soiled loads, where it broke down the greasy soils that ordinary detergent could not handle on its own. The high alkalinity saponifies grease, turning it into something water can carry away. A box cost very little and lasted for months. Today, a degreasing laundry additive is sold at a premium under a dozen brand names. The yellow box has been doing the job for 150 years. Number 13. The vinegar rinse for softness and residue removal. In place of fabric softener, your grandmother poured half a cup of plain white vinegar into the rinse cycle. The acetic acid in the vinegar did two things at once. It neutralized the alkaline detergent residue left in the fabric after washing, and it dissolved the soap film that makes towels and clothes feel stiff and scratchy. What most people think of as worn-out, stiff fabric is very often just detergent buildup, and the vinegar rinse strips it away. The vinegar smell vanishes completely as the fabric dries, leaving no scent at all. Today, fabric softener is a billion-dollar category that coats your fabric in a waxy film and synthetic fragrance. Your grandmother got genuinely soft, residue-free laundry from a splash of vinegar that cost pennies a load. Let us pause here for a moment on the economics of what we are describing. Procter & Gamble introduced Tide in 1946 as the first heavy-duty synthetic detergent, and by the 70s, it and its competitors dominated the American laundry room. The growth of that industry over the following decades was built on a specific strategy. Take every piece of knowledge your grandmother carried in her head and convert it into a separate product on the shelf. The knowledge of how to soften water became a softening booster. The knowledge of how to pre-treat a stain became a stain stick. The knowledge of how to brighten whites became an additive. The knowledge of how to soften fabric became fabric softener. Each one a purchase. Each one replacing something your grandmother did with a mineral powder or a splash of vinegar for a few cents. Her entire system, borax and washing soda and a bar of Fels naphtha, cost under $2 a month and outperformed the modern laundry aisle on every fabric she owned. The industry did not replace her methods because they failed. It replaced them because knowledge is free and products are not. Number 12. Line drying whites in direct sunlight. Your grandmother hung her whites on the line in full sun, and she did it for a reason beyond saving electricity. Sunlight is a natural bleaching agent. The ultraviolet radiation in direct sunlight breaks down the residual staining compounds left in white fabric through a process called photodegradation, lifting, yellowing, and brightening the white without a drop of chemical bleach. The same ultraviolet light kills the bacteria and mildew spores that survive a wash cycle. 2 to 3 hours in strong sun does the work. The clothes come in brighter, fresher, and genuinely sanitized. Today, that same effect is sold as an optical brightener in detergent, a chemical that tricks the eye rather than actually removing the stain. Your grandmother had the real thing for free hanging in her backyard. Number 11. Turning dark clothes inside out before washing. A small habit with a real mechanism behind it. Your grandmother turned dark garments inside out before they went in the machine. The fading you see in dark clothes after repeated washing is not the dye washing out from within. It is abrasion. The outer surface of the fabric rubs against the drum wall and against other garments throughout the cycle, and that friction wears away the dyed surface fibers, which the eye reads as fading. Turning the garment inside out puts the inner surface against the abrasion instead, protecting the outer face that everyone sees. The dark stays dark for years longer. It costs nothing but the half second it takes to flip the garment. Hit that subscribe button because what you are learning here might change how you think about the products filling stores today. Now we move into the methods your grandmother reserved for the stains and fabrics that punished any mistake. Number 10. The cold soak for blood stains. When blood hit fabric, your grandmother did not run it under the warm tap. She submerged it immediately in cold water with a handful of salt dissolved in it. The chemistry is precise. Blood is protein, and protein coagulates in heat, bonding permanently to the fiber. Cold water keeps the protein soluble. The salt works through osmotic pressure, drawing the protein out of the fabric and into the surrounding water. A cold, salted soak pulls a fresh blood stain out almost completely before it ever has a chance to set. Run that same stain under hot water for 2 seconds, and it is in the fabric for life. Your grandmother knew which mistake could never be undone. Number 9. Washing delicates in a mesh bag. Lingerie, nylons, fine knits, anything with straps or lace went into a mesh bag before the cycle. The reason is mechanical protection. The agitation that drives soil out of a sturdy cotton shirt is brutal on a delicate fabric, stretching it, snagging it on buttons and zippers elsewhere in the load, and tearing fine fibers. The mesh bag let water and detergent through while shielding the garment from the mechanical violence of the drum and from entanglement with heavier items. A delicate garment washed in a bag lasted years longer than the same garment thrown in loose. The bags cost almost nothing and lasted indefinitely. Let us pause here for a moment on why all of this faded from memory. It was not because the method stopped working. Vinegar still softens, borax still conditions water, sunlight still bleaches, cold water still saves a bloodstain. They faded because an entire industry found it more profitable to sell you a product than to let you keep the knowledge. The genius of the convenience pod is that it requires you to know nothing. No fabric chemistry, no water hardness, no stain triage, no temperature judgment. And knowing nothing feels like freedom until you notice your whites have gone gray, your towels have gone stiff, and your dark clothes have faded by the second season. Your grandmother carried all of this knowledge in her head and spent almost nothing to act on it. The trade she would never have made was the one most of us made without noticing. Handing over the knowledge in exchange for the convenience and paying for the privilege every single trip down the laundry aisle. Number 8. Drying wool flat rather than hanging it. Wool is a protein fiber, and under a microscope, each strand is covered in overlapping scales. When wool gets wet and is put under stress, those scales interlock and the fibers mat together, which is how a sweater shrinks and felts. Hang a wet wool sweater on a line or a hanger, and the entire saturated weight of the garment pulls down on the fibers at the shoulders, stretching it permanently out of shape. Your grandmother knew better. She laid wool flat on a clean, dry towel, reshaped it gently to its original dimensions, and let it dry horizontally with no stress on any part of it. The sweater kept its shape and its size for decades. Today, people toss wool in the dryer and donate the shrunken result. Number 7. The lemon juice and sunlight treatment for yellowed linens. When white cotton or linen yellowed with age or storage, your grandmother reached for a lemon. She squeezed fresh lemon juice over the yellowed areas, wet the fabric through, and laid or hung it in direct sunlight. The citric acid is a mild natural bleach, and combined with the ultraviolet radiation of the sun, it lifts yellowing and restores brightness without the harsh fiber damage that chlorine bleach inflicts over repeated use. Chlorine bleach whitens by attacking the fabric itself, which is why heavily bleached whites eventually weaken and develop holes. The lemon and sun method brightened without that cost. It took an afternoon and the price of a lemon. Number 6. Hydrogen peroxide as a gentler bleach for whites. For whites that needed more than sunlight, your grandmother reached for hydrogen peroxide rather than chlorine bleach. A cup of ordinary 3% hydrogen peroxide added to the wash brightened whites and lifted stains, then broke down harmlessly into water and oxygen, leaving no chemical residue in the fabric and causing far less damage to the fibers over time. Chlorine bleach is effective but punishing. Used regularly, it weakens cotton and can yellow fabric over the long run. Hydrogen peroxide gave most of the whitening with a fraction of the fiber damage. The same brown bottle from the medicine cabinet did the job for pennies. Number 5. Baking soda as a deodorizer in the wash. Half a cup of baking soda went into the wash alongside the detergent, not to clean, but to neutralize odor. Sodium bicarbonate is a pH buffer. It reacts with both acidic and alkaline odor compounds, the sour smell of mildew, the sharp smell of sweat, and neutralizes them chemically rather than covering them with perfume. Your grandmother's laundry did not smell like a synthetic meadow. It smelled like nothing at all, which is what truly clean fabric smells like. Today, odor fighting is sold as a premium scent-boosting bead poured in by the capful. The box of baking soda in the kitchen did it for a fraction of the cost and left no fragrance behind. Number 4. The overnight salt soak for sweat stains. For the yellow sweat staining that builds up at the collar and underarms, your grandmother dissolved a quarter cup of salt in cold water and soaked the shirt overnight before washing. Sweat staining is largely protein, and the salt solution worked over those long hours to loosen and displace the protein compounds bound into the fiber, breaking them down enough to wash free the next morning. The soak was slow, but nearly free and required no scrubbing. Today, underarm stain removers are a specialized product sold by the bottle. A quarter cup of table salt and a night of patience did the same work. Number 3. Checking the wash water temperature by hand. Your grandmother ran her hand through the filling machine before she put the clothes in every single time. She was not being cautious. She was confirming. A dial set to warm does not always deliver warm water. In winter, when the incoming cold supply is near freezing, a warm setting can come out far colder than the fabric needs, and too cold for the detergent to dissolve and activate properly. Many detergents of the era needed a minimum temperature to work at all. By checking with her hand, she made sure the temperature the dial promised was the one the fabric actually got. It took 2 seconds and saved entire loads from washing in water too cold to clean. Number 2. Removing clothes promptly to prevent mildew set. Your grandmother pulled the laundry out of the machine within minutes of the cycle ending. Wet fabric left compressed in a warm drum is a perfect breeding ground for mildew, and mildew sets in fast. Once those spores take hold, they produce the sour, musty smell that no amount of rewashing fully removes, because the smell is the byproduct of a living colony embedded in the fibers. The fix is not a product, it is timing. Pull the load promptly, get it onto the line or into the dryer while fresh, and the mildew never gets its foothold. Today, an entire category of odor-removing additives exists to fight a problem that prompt unloading prevents for free. Number 1. Knowing your water. This is the principle beneath every item on this list, and it is the one the modern laundry aisle most wants you to forget. Most American homes have hard water loaded with dissolved calcium and magnesium minerals. Those minerals are the hidden saboteur of every load. They bond to detergent molecules before the detergent can reach the soil, which cripples its cleaning power. They leave a gray film on fabric that builds up wash after wash until the whites are dull and the colors are flat. They deposit scale inside the machine itself. Your grandmother knew whether her water was hard, and she corrected for it on every single load with borax, with washing soda, or with both. She was not adding those powders out of habit. She was calibrating her wash to her specific water, the way she calibrated her temperature to her specific fabric and her treatment to her specific stain. That is the whole secret, not a product. a practice of knowing what you are working with and adjusting for it every time. The modern detergent pod is formulated for an average water hardness that may have nothing to do with what comes out of your tap, dosed identically whether you are washing a silk blouse or a mud-caked work shirt, in water you have never tested. It is built to require no knowledge, and it delivers exactly the results that no knowledge earns. Your grandmother's whites stayed white for 20 years because her system was tuned to her home. A single universal product by its very design can never be tuned to yours. So here is the challenge. Pick one of these and try it this week. Try the vinegar rinse from number 13 in place of your fabric softener. Half a cup in the rinse, and feel how soft the towels come out. Or try the borax boost from number 15, half a cup in the wash, and watch what happens to your whites. Give it 2 weeks before you judge. I tried the vinegar rinse myself for 1 month. My bath towels had been stiff and scratchy for years, and I had assumed they were simply worn out. 1 month of a half cup of white vinegar in the rinse cycle, and they came out soft again, genuinely soft, with no fragrance at all. The towels were never worn out. They were caked in detergent and fabric softener residue, layer on layer, and the vinegar stripped it all away. The whole fix cost me a $2 bottle of vinegar. Now tell me in the comments which one you are going to try first. The vinegar rinse from number 13 or the borax boost from number 15. The splash of acid that softens or the spoonful of mineral that brightens. I want to know which one you reach for, and I want to know what your laundry looks after 2 weeks. Your grandmother kept her whites bone white for 20 years on 3 products and a head full of chemistry she never thought of as special. It was just what you knew. The least we can do is remember that she was right.